morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy.
Good morning. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Nancy.
It's funny how that works. We're thrilled to be here with you guys today. We got a big show for you. Two amazing guests that are going to be with us in just a little while. Both of them are authors, but both of them do other things as well. Alex, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, Liau.
Wow.
Is going to be joining us from Singapore, Nancy,
Oh, wow.
in just a few minutes. And he is author of A Parent's Guide to Early Intervention, a comprehensive model for children with special needs. He's also a clinical director. And so we're excited to talk to him about early intervention and how parents can get involved and what they should know. And then a little bit later in the hour, we're going to have Jonathan Chase with us. And he is the author of the book From Surviving to Thriving, Classroom Accommodations for Students on the Autism Spectrum. He identifies as being on the spectrum himself, and he is also a brilliant musician and does a lot of work with other individuals on the spectrum, helping them to be successful. So he's a big advocate for things happening in school. And I know it's IEP season for a lot of people, and a lot of you are wondering, what other accommodations can I possibly have? Well, you're going to hear directly from Jonathan. He's got some great tips for you guys. So that's really cool. But first, we wanted to take just a second to talk about Wyatt, Nancy. Yes.
Well, Wyatt painted two paintings last night. This was the first one he did just last night. This lion.
I love that. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, he
beautiful.
Knocked that out very quickly. And then after the lion, he painted a giraffe.
Oh my goodness. Isn't she lovely? I love the eyelashes.
I know.
The perspective on that. That is absolutely amazing. The eyes are always so stunning. There's such personality in his animals. That is just, does she have a name?
I don't think he named her.
Okay.
He named the lion Larry.
Okay, Larry the lion.
But we'll have to get a name for the giraffe.
She's just beautiful.
He names his paintings. I don't know why he didn't name the giraffe.
And I love the signature. The signature is just bold and beautiful. He's doing some amazing work, Nancy. We want to remind everybody that they can take a look on Facebook, go to Wyatt Autism, and see what Wyatt is up to. But you've been having a lot of people commission him to do paintings.
Yes.
You can do that with a person. If you have a picture of someone that you would like for Wyatt to do a portrait, a pet,
or a dog, or whatever, you can write to us and we'll make that happen.
And again, he's Wyatt Autism on Facebook, but then we also have on the screen for you at Wyatt_autism on Instagram.
Right.
Listen, I'm always amazed. I don't really get the Instagram thing. I know that I'm giving away how truly old at spirit I am. But nowadays, Nancy, when people say, "Oh, I'm doing this," and they start to talk about it, I know they're serious when they say, "Well, my Instagram is this," and I go, "Oh, okay, they're doing it." So look at you guys with an Instagram for Wyatt. That's amazing.
Yeah, we posted a lot of pictures on Instagram. The lion is going to be a gift to my friend Julia because she loves lions, but the giraffe is for sale if anybody's interested.
Oh my goodness. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. And you've said this before on the show that when you buy art from Wyatt, that helps him to take more art classes. It helps him to be more successful.
His art classes are quite expensive.
Yes, of course, because he's an artiste. Those things cost real money. I also want to say one of the stories that we're going to cover in the news has a bit to do with sleep and autism.
Yes,
so kind of goes hand in hand. But so should we start with that one, Nancy, or do you want to start with
the other one pulled up? Can we start with the one about the really wonderful story about Rollins College, which is in Winter Park, Florida, and that they had their valedictorian deliver the valedictorian speech without saying a word.
Yes.
And that's because it was delivered by Elizabeth Bonker, who has autism and is nonverbal. And she delivered the entire speech through a text-to-speak computer program.
Yes. And an amazing story. You can find out more about it by just Googling her name. Uh, I loved hearing her words as she stood on the stage using assistive technology, but I also enjoyed hearing from her mom that, both she and her mom agree that if she had not been taught the ability to type,
Right.
then what would have happened? And they are huge advocates for assistive technology for people on the autism spectrum. To see her mom sit there and glow and watch her give this valedictorian speech was really something. So we're encouraging people, Google her, ask to be able to see her valedictorian speech. But it gave me shivers. Did it not you,
Yeah,
Nancy?
just incredible story. And she says all nonverbal people with autism can be taught to
Yes.
do this, and is a huge advocate for that now. So we probably
Yeah.
be seeing more advocacy from her.
And I just want to say, because I know that there are probably some people who are watching who are like, well, maybe not all of them, but more and more research shows that if different techniques are used for different people, that perhaps maybe she's right, that all individuals can be taught to type. And there are several different ways of teaching typing. We've featured before on the show Emily Groden and her mom, Valerie Gilpier. If you've not yet read that book, and I always mess up the title of it. I have been buried under 100 years of dust, I think is the title of it.
Uh-huh.
But amazing, a young woman who really wasn't able to convey all the things she was thinking and feeling until she was in her late 20s. But we just saw her mom the other day. We were at an event with her mom, and I said, "How are things going?" And she said, "I'm just enjoying my life and hearing what my daughter has to say, the thing that she
Uh-huh.
had wanted so much all along." So don't give up, I think, is the message. Don't give up. These kinds of things can happen. Really, really amazing. We're saying congratulations to the whole family on this amazing feat. Graduating from college, but then doing the valedictorian speech. Whew, pretty good.
Amazing.
Pretty good stuff.
Amazing.
Then our next story has to do with sleep and with autism. We're featuring a story that came to us from spectrumnews.org. We love them, and you can check out the news that they have there. They've got a wonderful little profile about a Dr. Lucia Pesotto, I believe is her name.
That's a good pronunciation of that, Shannon. I wouldn't have known how to do that.
Well, who knows if I got it right, but really a fascinating read. It's about her work in the field of autism and how she's looking at sleep and why there might be some big breakthroughs in sleep because of her. But I also loved that we got to find out a little bit about her story, and because she did not intend to go, first of all, she didn't intend to go into science the way that she did, and she didn't intend to go into autism or sleep. And it's a little bit of a fascinating read. I
Yeah,
can see a biopic coming.
yeah, I thought it was a fascinating read as well. And it's because of her research on a mouse model of autism that we've received some of the earliest evidence that sleep disruptions in autism have a genetic basis.
There we go. And that doesn't mean that you can't work on it. That doesn't mean that you can't improve upon it, right? Or that
Right.
there aren't things that you can do to help mitigate it. But understanding that there is a genetic component, and my understanding, and I don't understand a lot in terms of science, but that the way the genes are expressed.
Hmm.
This becomes very important, and I loved hearing that part of the reason why she began to do research was because she wanted to understand more about her sister's condition, because her sister was born with Down syndrome.
Right.
Which I thought of you, Nancy, because as a
Right.
sibling of someone who
Yes.
has Downs,
My younger brother had Down syndrome. Uh-huh.
right? I found it amazing that sort of led her down a path where she began to do research and stumbled across the fact that autism, that there is this gene expression that does have to do with sleep disorders. So it's a good read, and I love to know about people like this because I certainly remember a lot of times, Nancy, or especially in the early days, where I felt like I was on a planet by myself and that no one cared.
Right.
And when we hear about people like this who are devoting their lives to finding out why are your kids having sleep disruptions and what can we do to mitigate it, and that it's their life's passion, it makes me feel better
Yes.
about everything.
Really.
And by the way, Traven has said the title of the book is "I Have Been Buried Under Years of Dust." It's not 100 years. I always speak in hyperbole. I Have Been Buried Under Years of Dust, a memoir of autism and hope, and that is by Emily Grodin and Valerie Gilpierre. So please check that out. It is available right now at all major booksellers, including Amazon. But then our last news story this morning, I felt like this is a little bit hopeful too. I'm
Yes.
putting an asterisk behind it. Do you want to go ahead and talk about it, Nancy?
Yeah. It's an article about how after many, many years of waiting, Canada is one step closer to a national autism strategy.
Yeah.
And the gist of that is that the Canadian Academy of Health Sciences released its assessment of the autism report on Tuesday, which outlines structural and systemic gaps facing people with autism and their families. So this is a big step.
I sort of feel like this is the modern day space race. There was a time when I was a little kid when it was who's going to be the first country that's going to put a man on the moon, right? And
Right.
the race was on. I want to make this the race like what country is going to be the first country to come out with a comprehensive plan for autism. A way that they're going to say, we're going to take care of you from before you get diagnosed, identifying and getting you a diagnosis all the way through school, through employment, all the way through all the health issues that you're going to have as you become a senior citizen, and to help support even through old age.
Right.
Like, which
Exactly.
country is going to be the first? And I think for a long time people thought that was going to be the United States, and they formed that IACC, and it looked like that we were going to have this committee that was going to do this here in the United States, and it kind of stalled, and they kind of do things occasionally and try to help out occasionally, but we've asked for a czar. How long have we been asking for a czar of autism, Nancy?
For decades, Shannon.
Yeah. We've been doing this show now. We're in our 11th year, and we've been asking since day one. Here in the United States, we need a czar. Well, Canada, it looked like Canada was, I'm sorry, but it looked like Canada was off in left field for a while, because they said, oh, we're going to start to provide services. But then what they were willing to provide was so small that people were on a waiting list. They were saying, we're going to give you 2 years of early intervention. But the waiting list was 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you got to the front of the line, your kid had aged out of the system and was no longer eligible. And people in Canada have been up in arms about this for a long time. I will say it took them long enough to do this study. I think they said 19 months. I'm sure that COVID slowed it down, but the study is in. And there are several different areas that the study has identified that there is need. Shall we go over what the different areas are?
Yeah, the first one is diversity.
Thank you. Yes.
The second one is social inclusion. The third one is diagnosis and supports. Fourth is economic inclusion. And the last one is research.
So I think it's a good start, because under economic inclusion, that includes job and workforce.
Right.
The thing that's a little thin here from me is that where's the education piece?
Right. You're right, Shannon. They don't.
That's the place where I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But, maybe they're thinking that that's included in research, but the problem is that research is great. I love research, but for the people who are dealing with issues right now, that research doesn't pay off until 5, 10, 20 years down the road.
Right.
So anyway, it's a start. It's more, I think, really than any other country has at this point.
Right.
But it's got to be translated into real help now.
Yeah.
So Canada, lead the way. Canada, show us how it's done, because somebody needs to.
Yes.
And Joe Biden and Jill Biden, if you're listening, where's the czar? Can we
Right.
get a czar? Can we just get a czar? We were ahead and now we are not. Where's the czar?
Right.
We have the CARE Act, okay, but we need some more of this. All right, I've said my piece. We've got great guests today, and in fact, we're going to talk a little bit about the education piece with our second guest. But Nancy, do you want to introduce our first guest?
Sure. I hope I pronounce his name right. He can correct me when he comes on. Alex Liau. Um, he is an international speaker, Shannon. He's published 2 books, um, School Shadow Guidelines, and A Parent's Guide to Early Intervention. Both of those are with Future Horizons. His books have been used by schools worldwide on inclusive education and parent training for kids with special needs. He has a degree in psychology from the National University of Singapore, many years of experience working with children with ASD and other learning difficulties. And Shannon, you said he's joining us from Singapore?
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Alex.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, thanks for having me on
Hi.
the show.
Now, how
Hello.
do you pronounce your name, Alex? How do you pronounce
Yeah, uh, Alex Liau.
Liao?
There
Yes.
we go.
Okay, I botched it up a little bit. Good to know.
It's so good to have you here.
It's so good to have you. Alex, first, if you could talk to us about the importance of collaboration between all the stakeholders in terms of therapy for a child with ASD.
Yes, so this is also one of the main aim of the book is to make sure there's a collaboration between the first is the family, second is the parent, and third is the school. Because in Singapore, we always therapy, we go to the occupational therapy, speech therapy, then we do a lot of therapy, but very lack of parent training. So
Mm.
whenever a parent come to me, I ask them, you receive some training for the speech therapy, some training to work at home? Because once a week therapy is definitely not enough for a child with autism. You go once a week, you hope for a miracle. That's not going to happen. That's why during my therapy, we emphasize a lot of parent training. Example, if we do home-based ABA, so like example, 3 times a week, we try to spend at least about a quarter of the time to teach a parent actually how to work with the kid. So I myself can demonstrate. Sometimes I do short video clips for them to watch so they can do at their own time. So this is rather important. And one of the key stakeholders is the school. Because example, in Singapore, we go to the childcare for nearly half a day. And if the school doesn't know how to handle the child, it doesn't make sense because at home it's very strict. At my therapy center is very strict, but in school, they might not know how to handle. So they might leave the child alone. So we go into the school. Just a one-time visit is enough. We show them how to use schedules, how to use token economy, how to handle meltdowns and tantrum. So when the child see the consistency between the family, therapy, and school, I think they will improve much faster with this aspect. That's why I think collaborative work is quite important for the treatment in autism, especially
Absolutely.
for the early intervention part.
Right.
Well, let's talk about early intervention because
Mm.
that's, your book, A Parent's Guide to Early Intervention, a comprehensive model for children with special needs. Talk to us about, we've heard it for years, early intervention, but what do parents really need to understand about how vital it is?
So I think parents need to understand when a child is diagnosed with ASD, first is to accept it. I mean, need to there will be a grieving period. Oh, why my child is like this? It's not fair. Why cannot be like my older child or other friends' kids who are all typical neurotypical? First is to accept it, and early intervention is a key. So first, right, in my model, we do a very simple model. So it's a 5 step. So first is home based therapy. So first you must manage your child at home, sit down, do simple activity with them. It can be puzzles, threading, follow a simple schedule. So at least at home, the child gets some basic compliance, like pass me this, give me that, slot in the puzzle. So this is a very important technique to learn. So in the book, we teach them how to use schedules, reward system, simple activities, examples, role play. So in my opinion, once a one-to-one at home is good, we can slowly transit to a small group intervention. So the mistake in many families, that's okay, I put to a mainstream childcare, 20 children, 25 children to one teacher. I mean, it's very, very difficult to do the transition. So in my model is first home base. Second, we go to the small group intervention it can be a therapy center. In Singapore, we call it the EPIC, so early intervention center. There's government one, there's private one. So you go there for small group, 4 to 5 children, learn about transition, and it's mostly based on teach. So this is a key component. So home base first, then we do the school base. Is what we
Uh-huh.
call it important as well. Mm.
Alex, how can we bring early intervention to as many people as possible?
This is something that yes. So when I go to Australia for training, right? So we met some of the trainers from the rural area, I mean the more further from the urban area. They have very minimal support. Just go to the area once a week to support a big group of children. So there's lack of services in the big country. Like Singapore is easy, it's so small. So many kids have intervention quite immediate if they want it, or they just take a bus down, they drive down, they go to the center. But in big vast country like me in the US or Australia, certain Midwest or the services are very limited. So to bring this to more people, I mean like what you're doing now, Autism Live, all this platform is a good thing that you can share online. People have more access. So for my side, maybe we are doing some in future. We are putting all our resources on the web, online. We can do some live for parents to ask questions. We can do live demonstration or some basic therapy techniques. We can upload resources online for them to download and actually use it with their child. So this is to bring it to as many parents as possible. And maybe like through books, there's some knowledge. But actually, when you read the book and you actually doing it is very different.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
why when parents say, Alex, no, you just I read your book, but I still cannot really execute. I follow step by step. But it's all about taking the first step. Because some
Yeah.
parents have read it already, but they say, oh, maybe I do it tomorrow. Or I don't have the resources. But no worry, in future I put all online, you download, you print, you can immediately try. You must take the first step. Once you do the first step, even the first step doesn't successful, or down or tantrum, or you cannot handle, you're sweating buckets. But that is the first step. The more you do the rapport is better, and things will gradually get better. But no, a lot of parents like I met with, they are a bit apprehensive because they always say, oh, leave it to you. You are the
Exactly.
professional. Yeah. For me,
Exactly.
I cannot. Yeah.
And I want to know because it seems like in the beginning, parents are overwhelmed. Nancy and I are both parents
Mm,
who've gone through early intervention with our kids. It's not easy. And a lot of times, parents, when they hear about these intensive early interventions, they go, great, you do it. I don't
mm.
need to learn it. Or there are parents who say there's nothing to be done, and so they don't get, or they think it's too expensive, but they don't get motivated to do it. So how do you empower the parents to want to
Oh,
be able to start these interventions for their kids?
that's a great question. During the first couple of sessions, I will get the parent to sit in. So initially, when I started, when I was a young chap, we do the therapy. The parents just leave us, close the room,
Yeah.
and they go to do their grocery shopping. That's 2 hour rest for them. Correct. So that's the
Yes.
truth. That's the reality. Because the whole day I see my son, our daughter. You help me 2 hours. I come back. You report to me. That's it. So for now, I'll keep it easy. So I say, parents, the first 2 sessions, you just sit in with my therapist or myself. You see what we do, especially for the home-based therapy. So when they see, then I will video my work with them. I'll ask my therapist to video me. So I send them video clips on the phone through WhatsApp, so they can see, oh, actually, Alex is doing this. So the next few sessions, I'll get them to, if possible, sit down, just one task. That's one task that I will show them. Of course, I will encourage them. Oh, no, good job. Don't keep it up. If you make a mistake, I will just correct them in a nice manner.
Yeah.
So I will not say, hey, why you keep doing this way? It's wrong. No, you can do it better. Good try. No, all these things must start small. So when they do one task, they feel confident. They can do another, like a schedule system. They can do up to 2 tasks, 3 tasks. So this is a good start. Secondly, I will ask them, if you have time, you can video yourself working. You send the clip through the WhatsApp on the group chat. We can actually give some comments on how you do. This is how I start to get parents involved. This is
It's
number one.
amazing.
Sometimes, like we do simple packs, right? Packs. A lot of people use generic packs. They go online, download. I want food. I want drink. I want juice. But it's not realistic. So I get parents to be involved. I say, as parent, you take a photo of all your child's favorite item. Can be a toy, can be a remote control, or iPad, the child's iPad, not the generic iPad. Then they print out. Then I will do the packs for them. This they take ownership of the packs, and they also do the role play of the working with the child at home. So this how get them involved in a child. And I always emphasize, I'm not sure in the US, in Singapore, it's common to have domestic helper. So like from Philippines, they live in with the family. So they
Yeah.
always leave it to the domestic helper to do everything. Changing, eating, bring to school, everything they outsource to the domestic helper, right? So I always tell them, as parent, you will be with your child for life. Domestic helper, 2 years, 3 years, they will leave. So a new one come, your child got to revisit the whole thing again. It's not good for them. So I rather as parents you learn all the knowledge and you impart to your child instead of outsourcing this to us, to your domestic helper. So this is how I get them to, hey, maybe they see, yeah, actually Alex makes sense, then I will do more. No
Yeah.
choice. It's a lifelong thing. I cannot outsource to everybody. I just don't take I take a more ownership thing with my child in it.
And we do have some of that here. We do have some people who will have a nanny and they leave it to the
Yeah,
nanny. But
correct.
for a lot of our parents, it's them alone. They don't have help. They don't have support.
Oh,
And
that's tough.
yeah, it's
That's
very
why
tough.
also good to tell them that you get some knowledge when you got only time in the weekends or public holiday. Just do a little bit of work with your child. You will
Yeah.
improve much more. Or
Yeah.
maybe if the parents are empowered, right? So when they talk to a therapist, they are also, oh, you're saying about this. I also try at home. Instead of, huh? What are you talking about? I don't know. All right, or I leave it to you, and at home I just do my own thing. So I think it's important to collaborate, especially the schools, because sometimes schools are not underfunded, not enough staff, so they don't have the knowledge to help the child with autism in the mainstream school. So as we go there, we share the teacher some ideas, just basic ideas, schedule, token economy, how to manage meltdowns. This is enough because they have their own
Mhm.
bandwidth, the limited bandwidth for other children. But if they have some knowledge, right, you only help the child that in need, and it also knowledge for them for the future kids they work with. So I guess it's
Mhm.
a win-win situation for them as well.
Amazing.
Alex, will you tell us about nurture pods?
Oh yeah, Nurture Point we set up in 2011 with my partner Yong Hao. So we kick off as a home-based intervention only. So we go to the home to do ABA, and we go school shadow support. So we are one of the first few in Singapore to do school shadow. So we go to the school, one-to-one with a child to support a child in the mainstream school. So once they assimilate nicely, we will win off the support from them. So as on 2013, we opened our own center. So it's a small group intervention center. Then in 2015, with my wife Michelle, we set up a social skill class for children with autism. So now we managed to do it for 7 years, and we got 4 different classes. So I must thank her as well for helping me to set up this social skill class. And that's about it. So we got home base, we got school shadow, we got a center, we got a social skill class, and lastly we do parent training. So like to answer your question, like how to bring this to a bigger platform, the parent training in the future I will let you know. We'll be putting our resources online, like being like Autism Live, doing some live, two live a month to share some more information to parents, give them more concrete materials, concrete techniques, actually how to help your child to actually work with the help you to work with your child. This is our long term plan. Mm.
Amazing. There's so much to learn from you. So tell our viewers, where can they go to find out more information about you? Where can they get your books, and where can they go to find out more about Pods?
We got a currently we got a website and Facebook. Later I will share with Shannon. On Nurture Force quite simple. And the book is on Amazon. So I got two books. So one is School Shadow Guideline. I wrote with Jack Baker. So he was my mentor many years back. And the second book is a early intervention model, which I wrote during the lockdown, during the COVID lockdown. There's so much time on my hand. I just come out with the book with all of my stuff. So I think that's about it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, we appreciate everything that you're doing, and how lucky are the families in Singapore that they have you as this amazing resource.
No problem. I hope once, no, currently we are private, so I hope in future we can work with the government, bring all this intervention service to the masses. We can with the economy of scale, we can actually do more in the long
Amazing.
run.
I hope you can make that happen. Thank you so
Thank
Yeah.
you,
much for being with
Alex.
us.
Thank
Yeah,
you for the
you
invite, Shannon and Nancy.
are a
Thank you so
wealth of
much.
knowledge. Bye bye. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Thank
Bye
you
bye.
so much. Uh, I love it, Nancy, when we get to hear about how they're treating autism in other countries,
Yes,
and to hear, because a lot of people here in the U.S. don't have that sort of one-stop shop where you can
right.
go I love the model of starting with a home base and then moving to the center. There's a lot of ABA companies that do that now when you have little kids, when you're really doing true early intervention. You and I, when we started out, all there was home based.
Right.
But you know, it's so beneficial to have both. I see a lot of people going one way or the other, but to have both when it's appropriate for the individual, absolutely amazing. So anyway, we have a second guest, and I think that he is already here with us.
Good.
And
Yes.
I'm so excited. You go ahead, Nancy.
Okay, Jonathan Chase is going to join us now. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 14. He dropped out of school at the age of 16 to become a professional musician. And he has continued to do that over the last 20 years. So he's been successful at that. He has worked as a mentor with kids, teens, and adults on the spectrum, primarily those that are verbal and Asperger's, on the transition to adulthood, independence, and social goals. He also does some fun, nerdy things with his clients. So we'll talk to him about that. He consults with families, helps them evaluate their household routines, and writing IEP goals. So he also has done a TED Talk, which was fascinating. So we're going to talk to him about that. So let's welcome Jonathan to the show.
Hello.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello.
You brought your music with you.
Yeah, it's my fidget.
I love it.
We're in for a treat.
I need something
Great,
to do
Jonathan.
with my hands on all these Zoom calls, so
I love it.
this works.
Well, Jonathan, tell us about your diagnosis at the age of 14. What was it and how did that come about?
So I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when I was 14. I was a freshman in high school, and this strange lady I didn't know started following me from class to class, sitting behind me and taking notes, which is a little creepy. And then I got suspicious, and they called me into the principal's office, and my parents were there, and the lady was there, so I thought I was in trouble. And she told me that she was the autism specialist, and she'd been following me around and taking notes, and that she diagnosed me on the autism spectrum.
Wow.
So once I was diagnosed, the school then said, now we understand you and we want to help. But I'd had a really rough time for my whole childhood with staff abuse and just bullying. When I was in the 6th grade, the staff locked me in a closet multiple times. So by high school, I felt like the staff didn't understand me and they didn't care. So it was offensive that now they wanted to help me. So they put me in the Troubled Kids program, because obviously that's where people with autism belong. So my friends were drug dealers and car thieves and stuff like that. So I needed to get away from all of that. So ironically, I started working as a professional musician in bars when I was 16 to get away from people who were drinking and doing drugs.
Interesting. I'm wondering though, now in your work, you are somebody who's pivotal at providing support that's really meaningful for students. Did having that horrible experience of being bullied and traumatized, did that sort of shape what you do now?
Yeah, I feel like I know what it's like to feel alone and to feel like nobody really has your back or nobody can relate to the stuff that you're going through. And so I think sometimes, how different would my life have been? How differently would things have gone if I just had somebody there who listened and understood and was advocating for me? So I felt like that's my purpose, is to try to provide that so the next generation doesn't have to go through the stuff that my generation did.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I'm sure that your own experience has really helped you to mentor and help others, Jonathan. Um, you joined the board of the Autism Society of Oregon when you were just in your 20s.
Yeah.
How did that experience shape you into becoming who you are now?
Well, I'd never explored the autism world before, and I was in Nashville at a music camp, and I got tricked into getting in front of a group of people as a guest speaker, which I was not expecting and had never spoken about anything in public before. But they tricked me. So I didn't know what to do, so I spoke about my autism diagnosis and what it was like sort of being on spectrum in the music industry. And so I connected with all of these musicians and we talked about that and what we had in common. And so I came back to Portland feeling like maybe that was something to explore. And it just so happened that the Autism Society of Oregon had an opening. So I applied for the board and I was the first person with autism to serve on the board.
Amazing.
So I learned so much about nonprofit work and collaboration. And that is what sort of led me to eventually start speaking publicly and then start my own consulting business.
Wow. I want to know about these nerdy things that you do with your clients. Tell us a little bit about that. And also I understand that you do work at Camp Okadoka. What's the name of it?
Odakoda.
Odakoda. I was
You're
close. I was in the neighborhood. But tell us what, like when you say nerdy things, what are you talking about?
So I get to be a professional nerd. I build medieval weapons that are built to scale, so there's real history there. And then I run battle groups designed to accommodate people on spectrum. So we play capture the flag, and we have team battles. We have big open melees where there's swinging foam swords and axes and shields and spears.
Our producer wants to know about LARPing. I have no idea what that is.
LARPing is live action role play.
Oh.
So a lot of LARPing groups use replica weapons for medieval battle.
So is that what you're doing then or not?
My group is more focused on the fighting than the role playing.
Okay.
And my gear is extra padded and heavily engineered to be safe. So even if we've got little guys or people who are still, they don't have the best motor control, there's still not a risk that somebody learning how to play is going to get injured.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have thought of that, but that's amazing.
Yeah, I've spent, about 20 years now sort of perfecting these designs and figuring out how to make these groups work and how to teach skills through nerdy activities. If I told you that I was going to run a group for teenagers and we were going to work on advocacy and flexible thinking and teamwork, nobody would show up.
Yeah, everybody go to sleep.
But if I said, you're going to get to swing a battle axe and play capture the flag, now you're intrigued.
Right.
So once I get people there, then I can teach.
Amazing.
So we work on leadership and strategy and letting everybody have a voice and have a turn leading. And because the games go really quickly, everybody loses. So for a lot of us, we're competitive and we hate to lose. And so it's an experience to go through that in the real world. You play, you fight, you win, you lose, you get up and you do it again.
Right.
So it's fun, but it's also structured to teach some things that I think are really crucial for our population.
Amazing.
Jonathan, you recently became the voice of an animated character that is based on you. Can you tell us about that?
So it's not animated, it was in an audiobook. So my sort of mentor in the music industry Victor Wooten from Bella Fleck and the Flecktones. I started out studying at his camps years ago, and we became friends over the years. So he wrote these books that are novels. It's fiction, but it's about his unique approach to music and life. And so throughout his story, different characters are inspired by real people. So I am sort of inspiring a character of the same name in Victor's books. So in his new book, The Spirit of Music, I am on the audiobook reading my character's part, and Victor talks a bit about autism and a lot about music and some of the things that he and I talk about a lot. So I've studied at his camps, and then before the pandemic, I went back and got to teach there, which is a dream come true to go back where I learned as a teacher and get to teach music teachers from all over the world about how to support their students across the autism spectrum or with other neurodiverse needs.
And Jonathan, you did a TED Talk. Tell us a little bit about that and how that happened.
Well, I had been speaking publicly for quite some time, but I wanted to do something different. So I decided to put together a melding of these two worlds that I work in, the autism world and the music world. So I wrote a performance piece that's all about how I see music visually in shapes and colors.
I love it. Now, you've been holding this instrument this whole time. Is there something, now we can't get into trouble with royalties. Is there something that you can play that's royalty free since you got it there?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, can we hear just a couple of minutes?
Yeah. Well, we could.
I know, I put you on the spot. But since you have it.
My amp just lost power, of course. The moment you said it.
Of course. And if you can't, it's okay. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. That's amazing. So, Jonathan, and you've got this amazing book that's out I want to get the title of the book right. It's From Surviving to Thriving, Classroom Accommodations for Students on the Autism Spectrum. Tell us a little bit about the book and where we can get it.
Sure. It is on Amazon. I also do direct sales to schools or universities who order in bulk. And so the book is all about supporting gen ed teachers in the classroom. I found in speaking to lots of teachers and traveling around the country that teachers don't get enough tools, and the tools that we give them often aren't designed for the real world. So these teachers who are trying their hardest, they're overwhelmed with all these IEPs for all these different students. Everybody needs different things. And so one teacher has 12 people telling them how to redesign their classroom, which is impossible. So I set out to design and provide a system that changes the baseline environment of the classroom so the teacher can implement these tools on day one, use them universally for everybody. They don't have to single out students with autism or other special needs. It's going to address the common issues that are challenges that usually lead to crisis meetings or meltdowns or IEP adjustments. And if you bake that in on day one, you don't have to change how you do things when I show up. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to not just give tools, but do it in a way that respects that to teachers. the most valuable resource they have is time. And if we can give them some tools to support their students and give them back some of that, I think it's a lot more likely to be implemented and successful.
Amazing. You're amazing. So again, they can get the book on Amazon, and tell us about where can people follow you and find out more about you.
So I have a website at jonathanchase.net. I have a TED Talk that's on YouTube. And at least pre-COVID, I traveled all around speaking and presenting and teaching the material from my book. And I'm here in Portland. I'm running a sword fighting group next weekend. And I'm also at Camp Oda Coda every summer, which is the only overnight autism summer camp in Oregon.
Wow.
You're a
And
busy
what
man.
level? I'm sorry, you go ahead, Nancy.
Oh, I said you're a busy man.
Yeah. What level, for people who are interested in Oda Coda or your fight group, is there a requirement of a certain functionality? Do they need to be able to do certain things, or are you pretty much able to take everybody?
The summer camp has their own process. I run Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm the sword master.
Oh, of
But
course you are.
It is just the most beautiful place where
Okay.
this summer we'll have 80 teens from 10 to 18, all out in the woods, no cell service, no Wi-Fi, and no parents for 5
How
days.
great.
I love it. Is somebody videotaping that?
We have some videos online. It is
You need to
beautiful.
make a mini doc about that. I think people would be fascinated, right?
Yeah.
I agree, Shannon.
And with my groups, I tend to work with more on the verbal side.
Okay.
So with Dungeons and Dragons, with sword fighting, they're more verbal social activities. But in the end, my goal is to support everybody as best I can.
Yeah. Well, I was so excited because somebody told me about you. They were on a panel with you, and they said, "Shannon, you got to interview this guy. He's just amazing." And if I'm honest here, Jonathan, you did not disappoint. You are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And how wonderful and how inspirational it is to see you navigating your life and now turning around and helping other young people navigate their life so that they don't have to go through some of the more traumatic things that you went through. That is very touching to me.
Yeah, I look at what we have now. We've got so many more services and supports and resources like this show that didn't exist when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I think we have no excuse to accept failure for this next generation. We just all have to put in the work to make sure they have the tools they need to be successful.
Amen to that.
Great to know you're there helping them along, Jonathan.
Well, we thank you so much for your time. And you continue to be a musician. Where might people see you play?
Right now, I just fill in with bands. Whoever calls me, I show up and play.
There you go. And if people would like to have you come and speak at their conference or at their school or to their group, where do they go to your website to be able to get you as a speaker? And tell us what that is again, the website?
jonathanchase.net, N-E-T.
Thank you. And it is, for those of you who are viewing as opposed to listening, it's there on the screen for you, jonathanchase.net. Jonathan, you're just amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's been wonderful having you today.
Thank you very much.
All right, you
Good
take
luck.
care.
Have fun this summer.
Thanks.
Oh, what great guests we had today.
Yes.
Thoroughly enjoying that.
Enterprising and inspirational, the way they're helping our community.
Absolutely. I wanted to take just a second, Nancy, and talk about a couple of things that people might want to be aware of before we meet again. Did you watch the first 2 seasons of Love on the Spectrum that was on Netflix?
I did not watch Love on the Spectrum, but I've heard amazing things about it.
Oh, Nancy, I'll be honest with you. I waited a really long time. Like, I think it was out. In fact, I waited to watch season 1 until season 2 was out. Because a lot of times I go, oh, do I really, oh, I don't know if I want to see that. I'm very fussy about what I want to put into my brain, and I want it to be uplifting, and I want to feel good. And sometimes there are things about autism that I walk away and I go, yeah, that didn't help me. But everybody ranted and raved about it. And it focused on a group of young people in Australia who were on the spectrum, and very uniquely, each one of them on the spectrum. And each one of them was hoping to find love, hoping to date. And we got to follow them as they went on dates, sometimes fell in love, sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't. I'll tell you what, it's so worth watching, Nancy. My heart beat outside of my chest. You fall in love with some of these young people. They've become stars in their own right because people just love them. I mean, it was so worthwhile. And everybody kept saying, when are they going to do that with people here in the US?
Yeah.
And the first episode of well, actually the whole season 1, I believe is, I'm not 100% sure that the whole season, but episodes are dropping on Monday.
Okay.
And we know some of the people.
Okay.
Like Danny Bowman is one of the people that goes on dates.
Okay, great.
So I'm super excited about it. I think there's at least 2, maybe 3 people that we've had on the show that are featured in it. So I can't wait. I am so excited. And we are supposedly, I got to check with her because she's very busy now. We were scheduled to have Danny on the show next week. And so I hope that is still happening. But you guys can also watch, Danny has one of the featured videos in our Stories from the Spectrum right now that's out.
Right.
And she's remarkable. She's been on the show many times before. So if you're watching the show and you're thinking to yourself, I'd like to know more about this young woman, you can come to Autism Live and put in Danny Bowman.
She's a remarkable young woman.
Yeah.
She is.
You're the one who introduced me to her, Nancy. You gave me her children's books. When I first met you, you said, have you met Danny Bowman?
I absolutely loved when he was younger. Her children's book, he absolutely loved.
And Danny is I can completely understand why she's one of the people on the show. First of all, she's stunningly beautiful.
Yes.
She's so intelligent and so talented and has such a big heart. And so I love that she's one of the people on the show. So I can't wait. I'm, like this for it to be Sunday night. I think at midnight, Sunday night, it becomes available. So I know where I'm going to be at midnight on Sunday night.
Yeah.
I'm not waiting for season 2. I'm sure that they will get a season 2, but wanted to put that on everybody's radar. Also want to put it on everybody's radar that we're doing live shows next week, but the week after that, we're taking a little bit of a hiatus. Okay. And then we come back for the day after Memorial Day. We're back for one day, and then I think we're taking a little bit another couple of days off after that. I don't want you to go away. It's because we need to rest up a little bit, and we've got big things that we're working on. The studio hopefully will be finished next week, but we've got some big programming, new episodes of Stories from the Spectrum coming that are just going to blow your minds. But we also, every show has to run reruns from time to time because we can't do this all the time, right, Nancy?
All right. So the week we're not going to be here on May 25th, I take it.
Yes, that is. I'm going to be in Texas that week.
Oh, what are you doing here?
Well, I have I'm so old that I have grand nieces and nephews now.
No, I do too.
And I just love them. I always loved my nieces and nephews, but my grandnieces, I'm not a grandparent. I don't know that I'm ever going to be a grandparent because I'm so old. But I love my grandnieces and nephews. And so 2 of my grandnieces are graduating from things within a day of each other. And I just felt like we haven't seen anybody since COVID. I haven't been on a plane since COVID. So my son's going to be done with his freshman year and his finals, and I'm taking him to Texas.
Great.
So.
I hope you have a wonderful trip that week.
Well, I hope so too, and we might even find time to do a couple of little live things from there, but they'll be short things. I don't think we're trying to do shows from there. So, and we also need to, you need a break. Traven needs a break. This move and getting this studio up and running, Traven needs a break, and Dr. Grampuchet needs a break, and we have several new segments and shows that are going to be starting up. So we need to gear up for all of that. It's going to be an amazing second half of the year here. So by June 8th, we're back into our regular rotation, but you're going to see, like, we'll do a show, then we'll take a day off for a couple of weeks. Not next week. Well, also next week, because we're not doing a live show on Monday, but the rest of the week we'll be here live.
Right.
So
Right.
It'll be good. It'll be good.
Okay.
And do you have any big plans for summer, Nancy? You've got all kinds of things going on.
No, I don't really, Shannon. I've got the opportunity to go on a trip to the Turks and the Caicos, but I don't know that I'm going to do it.
Well, let me convince you to go. That's like a really happy thing.
Well, friends have asked me that they take a house there every summer, and I've been invited to go there. I'm not sure whether I'm doing that or not.
Okay, but you've got some amazing new ventures that you're doing that you've talked a little bit before. I mean, you're a busy person.
Running a program out at Special Spirit Ranch, an equine and animal assisted therapy program for people in drug and alcohol recovery.
Yes.
And I've been teaching classes on Zoom on fearless aging based on a book I wrote 20 years ago.
Well,
when I did.
You've taken more data on it since then.
Yeah.
About how to age and age well.
That's right. So doing that, and then of course, Wyatt's got summer camp and summer school and all kinds of things going on. So it's like a busy summer.
Yeah. Well, and I also have to say that my book is getting ready to come out.
Yeah, when does it come out?
So I believe that it comes out on July 6th. Originally, it was going to be June 5th, and then we changed it. But on some sites, it still says June 5th, but I think it's July 6th. And so I'm excited about that, and we'll be talking about more about that in the days to come. And then hopefully, Nancy, I hope that you're going to have an announcement about that coming up soon too. I don't want to tease anything, but I hope that you are.
We'll wait on that.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for being here because I know you had a busy day today. I want to thank everybody else and our amazing guests today. And we will be back tomorrow. I don't know. I'll have to ask Traven if we're playing an oldie but a goodie or if we're playing Stories from the Spectrum again, but that's our Friday fair. And then we will be back with a rerun for sure on Monday, and we'll be back live with Dr. Grampuchet on Tuesday. That show will be live, so you guys won't want to miss that. And then we'll have I think we're having Danny Bowman on Wednesday, and then we'll be back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy on Thursday, and we've got amazing guests for that. And I never think to write myself the memo so that I can tell who it is that we are having. But we've got great guests that I already know we have lined up. So until then, give yourselves a hug, give your kiddos a hug from me. And
yourselves.
I messed it up, Nancy.
Yourselves a hug from me. Bye-bye.
There we go. Bye-bye.